Welcome everybody to yet another Talk of the Town.
June version.
June. Oh my goodness, we're already in the summertime.
Yeah.
Whew.
A few more days left and we'll be into July, mid-year.
Getting warm.
Yeah.
Dealing with some rain right now, which I'm thankful for.
We've had good rain the last several months, which has actually helped groundwork, and certainly don't have drought conditions. It's kind of hurt our water production a little bit, but I tell you, it's been good for the yard.
Yeah, for sure. And as long as there's that balance,
Always.
we want to avoid severe storms, hopefully, but also make sure that we get enough to irrigate things.
Yeah, and obviously we're 1 month into
hurricane
storm
season.
Yeah, hurricane season, storm season. June 1 every year rolls around all the way through November. And that season is a bell curve. It starts out slow and then gets really crazy and then tapers off. But at any point in time, we could have one.
And you remember last year after
we had July 4th. We had Main Street USA.
Yep, on the 5th.
On the 5th, and Beryl came in. That was a Thursday, a Friday. Yep. And then on Sunday night, Beryl came through.
Yeah, we started having phone calls Friday afternoon, and then we were activated by Saturday or Sunday.
We activated Sunday about noon.
Right. So
and I remember on that one, I signed all the orders on Saturday.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So now's the time to prepare because you never know, and
just don't know.
They always say, above average, activity or whatever the case may be. But the reality is, it only takes one to make a difference in your community.
Well, if you'll remember, it was going into Mexico, and it just every hour it just kept ticking up, and we went, well, okay, here it comes.
Yeah.
And we did all of our blue sky stuff on Friday, and had the place ready to go, and. So fortunately, it was a Cat 1, didn't grow bigger than that. And so
still a lot of wind.
Still a lot of wind. Still a lot of tree damage and all that. So
lots of vegetative debris.
Yeah, that's vivid in everybody's mind. So it can happen. So be ready, be prepared. The city gets prepared all the time. Do our best to be prepared for all of these kind of things, and we ask every citizen in your home and business and everything else, prepare your stuff.
Yep.
Be prepared, because you know what you need. If you need some prolonged outage, or if you're going to have to evacuate or anything like that, you know what you need. Medications, your children, pets and animals, all of those kind of things. So just be prepared for your household, what you have to do.
Yeah. And all that being said, I mean, Mayor's right. We do spend a lot of time prepping. We did a full-scale high water rescue exercise in April, which is a full-day event. It's a pretty impressive display of resources because we need to exercise those muscles. High water rescues are extremely dangerous. We want to make sure our first responders are as safe as possible, and the best way to do that is to get the gear out and run through the motions, do all the paces and things like that.
Yep.
But use the days where we don't have those storms to get ready, and then hopefully on the days where we do have big things where we can celebrate, we can still do those things. Like we have our last concert in the park coming up this Friday, Independence Park. If you haven't gotten to one of those, fantastic event. This last Saturday we had our Juneteenth event at Independence Park.
That's correct.
And we're going to have our Celebration Freedom at Independence Park.
aptly named.
Yeah, exactly. So 4th of July, you going to be out there for that?
I will.
Are you pushing the button for the fireworks?
I hope so.
Yeah. Are we doing a switch? How are we doing that?
I'm not sure how we're doing it.
I don't think I've gotten the message on that yet.
That's always a fun event. It's plus or minus 15,000, 16,000 people in the park.
Yep. It gets crowded.
And it gets crazy for the fireworks. It's always a beautiful display. The best thing about it is we truly celebrate our freedom. We celebrate who we are as a country. We can talk about the divisiveness, between political factions and different things throughout our country, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we come together on that day and we put aside our differences and we say, we're one, we love each other, we're here, we're all Americans, and we're going to be in this together, and that's what makes it special for me. And we celebrate where we've come. Next year, not this year, next year, 250 years.
Which is pretty crazy.
I mean, just crazy. And so, you know, I hope we can take it up a notch, and just there's just something special about that, adding that zero to the end.
Yeah.
And 250 years as a country and where we are today is pretty special, and that we can take time and go and do. And we do have so many freedoms that we take for granted.
Sure.
And to backtrack to Juneteenth, I mean, the day, you know, it was 2 years after, you know, slavery ended, that the word finally got to Galveston, Texas, that all slaves were free, and you know, and
which is the origin of the Juneteenth celebration.
the whole origin of that. It happened on June 19th, and therefore Juneteenth, and just the fact that all men were free.
Yep.
And you know, here, you know, several weeks later, we celebrate our nation and our freedom as a nation. You know, tying those two together a little bit that way is a great way to just celebrate freedom, just celebrate who we are as a country. And as I said, it's
who we are as a community. I mean,
well, and I said this at the Juneteenth celebration, and I mean this with my heart, and that is, there are so many people who try to rewrite history, and they want to tear down monuments and tear down certain things. My take on that is we should always learn from history.
Sure.
Don't try to rewrite it. Don't try to cover it up. Don't try. And I'm not saying embrace it, because there's things in our history that are not good.
Yep.
Slavery is one of them. But at the end of the day, learn from it. You know, if you don't, you're destined to repeat it. Nobody wants to repeat certain parts of our history, and so, you know, it's just so important that we embrace who we are as people, and celebrate, you know, what we have. And so, Celebration of Freedom gives us that opportunity, you know. And I'd be remiss if I'm going to just be a little philosophical for just a second. What our country's going through right now, what our world is going through right now. You know, I don't care if you believe as a Republican or a Democrat or Green Party and all the other different stuff that's out there. You know, you're an American. We have a president, we have armed forces, we have a Congress, we have, you know, all of these people who are working to keep us safe. And yeah, we took action against, you know, some bad actors in Iran, and you can like it, you can not like it, you can do all those kind of things, but what is, right? And so at the end of the day, we need to make sure that you know, we lift up our leaders, we support them, you know, when they make tough decisions like this. Yeah, we need to look at all the facts and stuff around it, but a country like Iran having a nuclear weapon, if that was to happen, is devastating for our world. It's devastating for that part of the region. And so, you know, I'm one that will give latitude to our elected officials in D.C. when they're talking about these types of things, regardless of their party.
Sure.
Because they have access to intelligence briefings that we don't.
Well, and similar to working at the local level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't want them coming in and telling you how to pave the street.
Right.
And so there's reciprocity there where
things
should be handled at appropriate levels,
yeah,
right?
and we know things that happen locally. The state knows things that happen at the state, and same thing at the federal. And so you're privy to certain types of information. And so with that being said, you know, we've got great opportunities in front of us with, you know, tomorrow night and, you know, at concerts in the park, and Celebration of Freedom and everything else. And I want to make sure that people who are watching this know and understand that we take security very, very seriously at every event that we do. We take security seriously, you know, even at a smaller events like concerts in the park and those types of things. The best security you just don't see.
Yep.
So we don't want it to be
super obvious,
too in your face, if you will. But at the same time, we want people to know they can come to the park and have a great time.
Absolutely.
And celebrate our country, celebrate their freedom, and just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the people who need to know and who are ready, aiming, and willing to protect us are there.
Yeah.
And we take all of that very, very seriously. Anytime people gather in our community and the city's involved in it, we take security very seriously.
And I think that I can, you know, attest to that. Just being at all the different types of events that I've been fortunate to be a part of, you know, it is first and foremost. I mean, that's why we do a lot of the planning and conversations and meetings that we do. And I mean, the reality is, right, we plan for every possible eventuality.
Right.
And for that reason, the only thing we could do that's more safe than the way that we handle these types of situations is to not have events, which is not what we want to do.
Which is a non-starter.
Right. That's exactly right. We need to celebrate as a community.
And I'll say on that, that's what, from a terrorist standpoint and everything else, that's what they want.
Exactly.
They've won if you've canceled.
Yep.
And so that's not what we want to do. We want to celebrate who we are, be vigilant.
Yep.
Be mindful. So if you see things, hear things.
Well, and that's actually so. Yeah. We reached out to our PD public information officer. Shout out to Chad Rogers for supporting us so well, and said, what are the tips? What are you trying to tell people? Right. And it's the tried and true: see something, say something. Yeah. You see something 100%. That looks suspicious. Don't think it's something that you shouldn't point out to somebody or bring to law enforcement's attention. And then always keep your head on the swivel. Always be vigilant and diligent about what you're doing and where you are.
I tell people on stuff like that, don't be a victim. Just don't be a victim. What does that mean? Like if you're in a parking lot, you're leaving a store, understand what's around you, understand your surroundings. Yeah. Don't be a victim. A victim would be somebody that's just stuck on their phone and they don't know what's going on around them or behind them or anything of that nature. And so just don't be a victim. Yeah. At your house, don't be a victim. Lock it up, secure it, all the different things. Your car, secure it. Make sure electronics, computers, iPads, all that aren't in plain sight. Typically when we see, burglary of a motor vehicle, it's because somebody had a piece of equipment sitting right there and they broke in.
And grab,
and lock your door. Yes. I mean, so many people are just going by trying to do it. So just in your mind, just go, okay, how am I a victim? Yep. How can I be a victim? Just don't be a victim.
Yep.
Simple.
So we are going to have, our intention is to have Celebration of Freedom. Obviously, one of the things we can't control is the weather. But our teams watch that, maniacally throughout the day to make sure they're making the best call possible, and especially if we're faced with a situation where there's concern that we might have to cancel because of inclement weather. I mean, they're going down to the last possible minute to make sure that they're giving every opportunity, because so many teams work so hard to put this together, and they genuinely love getting out and doing the celebration. Our special events team especially, everybody that supports them, the parks maintenance crews, they love seeing the smiles on people's faces when they go in and do this. So we want to get out there and celebrate with you all, and you'll see us out there too, out running around. So if you see us and recognize us, feel free to stop us and say hi. Yep. We're always happy to sit and chat and have a conversation.
Absolutely.
And speaking of Independence Park, one of the 2023 bond-approved capital projects, the second of 3 phases of that park for overall development. We're in year 4, I guess, of that, or we're getting into year 4. Year of the. Oh yeah, we're in year 2. Man, I can't do that.
2025, just past May, so year 2.
Exactly. Yeah, year 2 of that bond package. You want to talk about those projects, the ones that you're excited about?
I am excited about Independence Park for a lot of reasons, but I also want to talk about parks in general, because I don't know that we've made a big deal about how this worked. That particular bond package was 2 parks, this one and then Hickory Slough Sports Complex and the soccer complex over there. And they narrowly passed, and so when we accepted the vote and everything else to approve the vote and move on, I stopped before we moved any further and I said, we need to take heed, and when you see a vote that close, we need to take heed and really listen and understand what the community is trying to say.
Because you have a majority, but only just. So there's,
Correct. I mean, it's different than if you have a 65-35.
Right.
Which is a very clear majority, almost 2-1, very close to that. That's a different feel and different look and a different speak, if you will, from the public versus 52-48 or something of that nature. That it was. And so I just said, look, we need to just pump the brakes. Let's make sure that we're listening to our community, and what can we do, to make things a little bit better financially and everything else.
Sure.
So one of the things that we did is we actually, under their charter, the Pearland Economic Development Corporation, half-cent sales tax, can take on park projects. That's something they can do. It's very simple. Most everything has to have a nexus to business.
Sure, sure.
So if they do a roadway or a water line or something like that, they can do those, but it has to have a nexus to primary jobs and business. Parks, they don't. They can go and do. So we took the sports complex, the second phase of Hickory Slough, and we moved that to the Economic Development Corporation to do. Does not impact your property tax rate. Doesn't do any of that. So we moved that completely off of that. So we're not even using the bond program, if you will, to do it.
Well, and I want to point that out. So that's a question we get from time to time. What happens to the funds that are approved for that project?
We just don't issue the debt.
Because the voter approval is the approval to spend up to that amount. And so if somebody else pays for it some other way, then we just don't issue that debt. Thus, it doesn't go against the property tax base.
We just don't issue. We just won't issue the debt for that park. It won't go to debt. It'll go to the EDC to pay for through their means,
which is the sales tax.
Which is sales tax. Now, and a lot of people say, well, that's still my tax money. It is. It's not your property tax money.
Right.
And so, we were seeking property taxes in order to do that. It's not going to be your property taxes paying for it. It does come out of sales tax. In addition to that, about 27 to 30% of our sales tax comes from people outside the city of Pearland that don't pay a property tax.
Interesting.
Okay, so you are getting a fair amount of people in and around us to help pay for that project that are not paying property taxes.
Yep.
Could be people in our mud districts that are right outside our city limits. It could be people in Manville, Iowa Colony, up into Houston, just past the Beltway. A lot of those folks come into our community.
But visitors nonetheless.
Those people come into our community to shop, eat, and dine with us and those types of things. And so their sales tax dollars are going into that, to help us, with that park. So then Independence Park, likewise, we're going to take that one on with the bond program. Yep. So we are in early stages of design and conceptual design of it.
So they're in the stage where they're working with the community on
what
does that look like?
They've got some stakeholder groups and stuff. That's something that we asked them to do. We wanted to reach out to the community, really understand what the community is wanting. If you're wanting special things, we've had several questions about pickleball and those types of things.
Yep.
We want those, and I would imagine we'll have some pickleball courts come out of this process.
We do have some questions we'll address.
I hope we see some pickleball courts before that, but coming out of it, I think those are going to be some things that you'll see in the park.
I got some marking paint in the truck. We could go do a pickleball court right now.
And I think we should go do that on the tennis courts, but we'll see. But what I'm excited about the Independence, Park side is a lot of people say, well, we didn't get anything for the first phase.
Right. Yeah. No, I've heard that as well.
Visibly.
Right. Yeah, because it's all infrastructure work.
Visibly. Most of the work was infrastructure,
Yep.
underground, drainage, a lot of electrical things that we had to do. Obviously the hill, which was not the most expensive part.
Right.
It was all the underground stuff that had to be done, getting ready for then phase 2,
Yep.
phase 3, and so on. What I like about phase 2, we're going to enlarge the lake. Mm-hmm. We're going to bring that the pond over there into the park. It's not really in the park now.
Yeah.
We're going to bring it into the park, make some amenities out of it. Kayaking, those types of things.
Make it way more picturesque, yeah.
Make it a little more beautiful than it is now. Any water is nice. It's but we'll dress it up. We'll make it a little bit larger. So those kind of things will be better. What I like is our inclusive playground that we have in Shadow Creek, Ed Thompson Inclusive Playground Park out there next to our Miracle League field. We raised money to put that park together, and we're going to take that same concept, not that park on a little postage stamp dime. We're going to make inclusive features for people of all abilities throughout the park.
Oh,
and so where we have playground and all that now, that's all going to be expanded, much larger. The lake will be better accessible for people with disabilities. We'll have all those kind of things, and and even those features will be phased in a little bit more
Sure.
than just phase 2, but some additional. That's near and dear to our heart as a family.
Sure.
A lot of people don't know we just had our 4th golf tournament. You know, where we raise money for the Forever Parks Foundation for that initiative. You know, they're out putting their fundraising and campaign packages together. Had a meeting literally Monday with Memorial Hermann Tier, the rehabilitation, arm of Memorial Hermann. They had a donation into the last park. They want to up that and have more in this one. But these guys are rehabilitation folks, so they understand and know the physical abilities of people, and so we want to listen to them. What do you want to put in here? How do you want to do this? Great visit with them. We've had great visits with those types of donors, and so I'm excited about that because it's just a big deal on a personal level. We've got a nephew who just turned 13 years old, born with spina bifida. In fact, he just had surgery here a couple of weeks ago, scoliosis of the spine. And he grew about 4 or 5 inches after the surgery. So, it was just kind of crazy.
But that felt good
to see him, now with all of that. And, when you look at that and it hits home, it's like, folks just like him and others, what they want to be able to do is play on a playground with their friends.
Yeah.
And they don't want to feel special.
Right. Well, I mean, it's part of the community, right?
Right. They want to be a normal part of the community, and that's what these
features like that bring us together.
That's what the inclusive, playground and parks do. Is it really brings people together, and it doesn't matter if you have full abilities or not. It's fully accessible and ready to go, and kids just love it.
That's going to be really exciting.
So I'm excited to see that come to life and happen. And if you're true, and I just think it's a great endeavor. People, families, and others who are dealing with a loved one that are in those situations, a lot of times feel alone. They feel burdened because their cost and everything else is astronomical. And they feel left out when it comes to public spaces. I mean, you have accessibility. You can roll a wheelchair, but I mean, truly being inclusive in the in the community, and having these types of facilities sends a huge message that you matter to.
Absolutely. Well, when we talk about being the community of choice, we put the emphasis on the because we believe we are that, but I mean, a big chunk of it is community, and it's a community of choice because we invest in things like that. We invest in things that make community. Yeah,
and so the parks things are exciting. The whole bond package was huge.
Lots of those projects are already
the drainage components are much needed. A lot of people wonder, well, why did it take so long to get to some of these? Well, you have to have a drainage network. And a lot of the drainage projects that are in this program, which we're in full design on, probably a third of the drainage projects already. We'll have some more go under this next year, and then beyond that. And so what most people, we could have gone in and done the necessary things to fix internal drainage in a neighborhood, but if it can't go anywhere.
It does no good whatsoever.
You've spent all this money and it doesn't do anything. So we have to have the system for the water to get out and go somewhere. And so we've spent literally the better part of the last 20 plus years now building the system with the regional detention, drainage ways, and those types of things to get water out, where now we can come back in and do certain things in certain areas of town, and the water will actually go somewhere. And so it's just time consuming because you can't go and just do it all. These projects are very expensive, and so certainly you want to get voter approval to do those, not just go and do. And that takes time. So, but I'm excited about all the drainage projects because it's going to take primarily older areas of town that were built well before any of the criteria that we have today, which is the reason why they have repetitive flood loss. So. We're going to make them better. I will tell people, and I'll say it here, my caveat, if we had another Harvey, you're not going to stop some flooding.
Nobody builds for
a Harvey, number one. But number two, I mean, you would literally have to be taking houses down and
Right.
creating detention and things of that nature. And in that program, we're not necessarily looking to, take people's homes and,
Yeah.
create a pond out of it.
But we will see substantial
Right.
improvements. In between that and other projects, not a bond-approved project, but the Clear Creek improvement watershed district. That's another really substantial one from a.
That's a federal project.
Yep.
And it's finally, after 60 years, gotten over some humps.
Only 60 years.
And the biggest issue is we didn't have every city in the corridor
Sure.
bought into doing something, and finally after Harvey, everybody said, yeah, we've got to do something about
Yep.
Clear Creek, and that unlocked it. And so we've gotten a project with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Mm-hmm.
Harris County Flood Control is the lead because they follow the creek all the way
down. Yeah.
all the way down to the bay on the north side.
Yep.
And so they're the local sponsor, DD4, City of Pearland, City of Friendswood, so forth and so on, all the
Yeah.
way down are sponsors as well and a part of it. And there's been other projects in the corridor that have taken place locally
Yeah.
that was part of the greater project over years.
Yeah. Mud Gully.
Mud Gully
was one of those.
Right. Large detention. Well, there's a large detention pond in Friendswood that was built over
Yeah.
Imperial Estates back in there.
Yeah.
There's some work going on Dixie Farm Road right now. People go, well, what's going on over here? Is this that strip center? Nope, it's actually a detention pond back there against the creek.
Yeah.
Those types of things have been happening by different entities, and those are part of the greater Clear Creek project.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is we're finally getting some of the last piece of it will be, hopefully we'll go under construction somewhere around 28.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been cleared to get, construction and engineering construction, moving forward. So hopefully in about 28 we can go under construction. It's about a 3 or 4 year build time. So 32 we'll have that project done, and and it will have a great positive effect on our
Yeah.
community as well. So
On us and everybody downstream
Right.
from us too.
Right.
From what I've seen from the hydrology studies and things like that.
well, that's important. I'm glad you brought that up. We'll talk about that real quick because we need to be responsible upstream,
Right.
that we don't do something that impacts somebody downstream.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just being
Being a
number
good
one.
neighbor.
Number one, that's the law.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. First and foremost.
But that's the law. But number two, I mean, it's just right by your neighbor.
Right.
And we want to make sure that, and so large detention has been done in Pearland over all these years. And,
Sure.
and so there's been tons and tons, hundreds of millions of dollars spent between private and public, in building all this. And so we have to do the right thing.
Yep.
And so the project has taken a while to figure out which one, because we didn't want any downstream impact.
Right.
So scenario H, talking core,
goodness. Yeah.
A, B, C, D, H, is one that has positive impacts here, positive impacts downstream.
Yep.
So it all came together and said, okay, everybody wins in this. So that's the one that is moving forward because we've got positive impacts both upstream and downstream.
Yeah.
So
That's exciting, and it just goes to show the unbelievable effort and integration that it takes in time
right.
to bring these things to life. I mean, the trajectory of these projects is just staggering.
They are.
And the number of people that have to be involved is nothing short of impressive. But it's a great thing for the community and the right thing.
And when it involves the federal government, it's gonna slow down. It's gonna those types of things.
No.
And so so that's part of it. But there's now some $400 million of federal money into that project, and so without it,
it'd be what?
Well, you're not doing it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Just like, our transportation projects and things like that.
Right.
I mean,
100%.
you have to have partnerships there
Right.
to plus up
Right.
the resources that we have. Otherwise, a lot
That's
of
it.
stuff doesn't get done.
That's it.
Good talks. Joe, do we have any live questions, or we want to get into our paper questions?
Nothing live. People are watching. Thank
Okay.
us for the stream. And,
Awesome.
But we can jump right into the
Okay.
what we got beforehand.
All right, we're just going to go. These are all questions that were submitted ahead of time. We'll just start from the top, maybe work our way through.
Sure.
So this one came with a picture. It says, when are they going to build the sidewalk from Magnolia Parkway to Barry Miller School? Such a short distance, but no sidewalk. Children walking must walk on the roadway or in a ditch. Sidewalk in pink, connect to yellow arrow. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well, a couple things. Great question, Rick. The one thing I need to find out is in our 23 bond program, since we were just talking about that, we had sidewalks and roads, in that, and we had some gaps.
Yeah, there was 15.5 million, I think, for sidewalks.
Something like that to do both sidewalk repair and gaps. Number one, I need to make sure, is it in that? But number two, more importantly, is TxDOT's actually widening 1128. And the timing of that is critical because they're in design work. They're at about 30+% design currently on that corridor. They'll have environmental clearance by the end of the year. And so one thing I don't want to do necessarily is spend really good hard-earned tax money
just for it to get busted
on concrete to be busted out and go away.
Yeah.
So we need to coordinate, make sure, because I know where a sidewalk would go would be in what TxDOT would need for right-of-way and those types of things. So sometimes we have to defer until that project's done because, again, you don't want to spend good money on concrete to turn around and have it ripped out.
Yep.
How many times do you see governments do that? And it's frustrating. It's frustrating for taxpayers to say, well, we just built that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't want to be, we want to be, the best stewards we can be with the resources that are entrusted to us.
We're going to divert just a second.
Sure.
So, happened the other day. Easy Fiber, E-Z-E-E, is like the center point of fiber.
Okay.
They're the backbone that puts fiber everywhere, and then the AT&Ts and everybody else, tag on to their stuff. Okay. So Easy Fiber's been in Willowcrest. What did we just do in Willowcrest? We just did all the infrastructure. This just frustrates me. Just frustrates me. They're boring. They hit one of our brand new drainage culverts, underground. Yeah. Inadvertently. I mean, they didn't set out to go do this. Sure. But so
they didn't call 811, I guess.
Brand new, and they tear up the brand new concrete road.
Yep.
To go in, repair, patch, whatever. And so it's just, the frustration is this brand new concrete, this brand new infrastructure.
And you can't reuse the concrete. I mean, you just got to go pour.
So it's frustrating. Concrete. So anyway, I divert just a little bit, but it's just frustrating point. It's like, really, you had to do it that way. Anyway, it happens. They're repairing it. They're fixing it. My question to staff has been, I want to make sure that the structural integrity is intact and all of that kind of stuff, moving forward. But it happens. I just don't like seeing brand new tax-paying funds being spent and then turn right around and you rip it out.
Yep.
Coordination is important.
It is, and I mean, just like with our drainage projects, right? You stack a drainage project and a street project together because you're going to have to rip up the street for one.
Right.
You don't want to do it 2 times in a row, right? So maximizing the efficiency of those dollars at hand. More to come on that sidewalk. So second question, does the city monitor the U.S. flags flown in the city for wear and tear? The flag at Country Place Boulevard and McCard should be replaced.
Yeah, I don't know that we monitor, so to speak, but certainly we can reach out to the Country Place HOA and say, hey, some of the flags are showing some pretty rough wear and tear and need to be replaced. So
in most of those,
I would assume that would be a code enforcement.
That would be my guess. Yeah, the city, we own the flags at city facilities, but not those that are in front of neighborhoods. So it would fall more to code enforcement, and we'll be reaching out to them about that. Yeah. Okay, when are they going to finish all the construction on McCard?
So I actually looked into this, and we are trying to figure out who's doing what right there at this location on McCard. It may be one of the utility companies that's working.
Joe, would you put that back up? There was a response from on the comment. It says let's see. It's a section that passes through Pearland Golf Club
Yeah.
and Renton Fort.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right.
Smith Ridge.
It's about a block and a half from Country Place Parkway and McCard, right there at that light.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's somebody doing something right there in the Esplanade. And the thing is, we're trying to track down, is it us or is it a utility company?
I see.
And so when we know more,
We'll follow up on that
we'll follow
specifically.
up and post more. As I mentioned, like Easy Fiber. I mean, we have AT&T, Easy Fiber, Verizon. All these companies coming in and doing various work. CenterPoint that will come in and do various work, and so it could be some of that they're
Sure.
doing. We just need to figure out who it is, and if it's been sitting a while, chances are they're waiting on something.
Yep.
Which is
Or
unfortunate.
the rain's holding them up.
Yeah,
you
or
know.
something's holding
Yep.
them up.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Do we know what's being built on the 9,000 block of Broadway in front of the new Chipotle?
I don't. That's one that we'll have
I'm sorry,
to.
8800 block. So one resource you can use, Josh, for that. Hey, another Josh. Look at
Yeah, there you go.
is the city's GIS, the Geographic Information Systems. I don't know why it's called that, but maps.pearlandtx.gov. There is an interactive map that's actually a permitting map. So you can see in a lot of situations what's being built based on what permits have been pulled for it. You just zoom into that location and should be able to find it. What's the cross street?
Oh, it's right off of Hill House and Broadway.
Oh,
There's a Chipotle right there, and
Yeah.
it's right out there or right next to it. I don't know. We'll have to just check and see.
Josh, we'll look into that and get back to you.
And contrary, just real quick, make a joke. Contrary to that, I don't know 8,000 permits that get pulled in our city every year. So, but we can find out and put it in the comments.
I was going to make a joke about it being a car wash, but we'll save that one for later. Let's see. I've attempted to. I'm going to look up where that map while you're answering this question. I've attempted to have a light fixed for a couple of years now. I've reported it on the website several times, and other neighbors have as well. Still no light on the 3900 side of Fernwood in the cul-de-sac. What else can I do?
Is that Keisha? Yeah. So I know it says here staff has submitted a ticket to CenterPoint, who owns and maintains the light, on your behalf. But I did talk to CenterPoint, my contacts at CenterPoint. So we can put this in the comments back to her, tag her in it. But if she's watching, send me an email directly. On the pole in your cul-de-sac there, on that pole, on that street light pole, there is a number. I'm sure you've seen it because you had to put it in to do that. If you'll send me that and the pole and roughly the address where the pole is, if you'll send me that, my contact said, yeah, get it to them. Number one, they want to get it on ASAP. But number two, he wants to find out what the breakdown has been as to why.
Okay.
So give them the opportunity, number one, to fix it, but number two, find out why it's taken so long to do this. They want to improve their processes just like we do.
Yep, exactly. And I was trying to look up the permit for 8800, but it's better on a desktop machine than a mobile device.
Yeah.
The interactive map is I struggle with it.
It's a little harder. Yeah.
All right. I'm excited to hear specific plans for more pickleball courts. Can you share any information on this?
Yeah, it's just I wish they were tomorrow, but we really, we're looking at pickleball in Independence. We're looking at pickleball in Shadow Creek Sports Complex. We should be looking for some pickleball in and around Centennial. Golly, just went blank on it for a second. So we can do that. Personally, I want to see what we can do to do something even temporarily at Independence.
Sure.
With the tennis courts that are there. I mean, we've got 4 tennis courts. I'm sure they all get used at various times. I do see people on 1 or 2 courts a lot, but I don't know that I remember seeing where all 4 courts are being used at the same time. And it seems like to me we could convert one of those to some pickleball outdoors right there in a very quick amount of time. I don't know the cost of that, but striping it should not be onerous as far as the cost is concerned. And that would be something I want to push for to see how quickly we can make that happen, to at least get those on the ground and going. And as we, redo the park and phase 2, what can we do to do a little bit more?
Have you ever tried pickleball?
I haven't.
And
just so you know, my knees are shot.
Well, yeah, no, you being a true athlete.
Yeah, so I just, my right knee is shot, and we have a ghost in here.
Yeah. The door just closed on its own. That's what happens when you have a 125-year-old building. It's fine.
But no, so me and I could and probably have a great time, but I really don't want to go to an ER.
No, yeah, I don't blame you. I was going to say, I tried it once, and I like to fancy myself like pretty okay at ping pong, and I was like, this isn't that different.
Yeah.
Completely different. Like, I don't know how you're supposed to hit the ball. And then there's like 90-year-old grandmothers over there that are just like, it's fun. It was not fun. But it's a great sport. Everybody should play it, except for me and the mayor.
Yeah.
We'll just sit here and answer questions. All right. When will the Bailey Road Bridge be completed?
It's a great question. So couple good news pieces. One, they're way ahead of schedule, just so you'll know. Their schedule actually puts them out to January of 26. But I think it's Monday following the 4th, or that week. The week following the 4th. That 4th is on a Friday. So, so I guess it'd be Monday the 8th. You'll see the traffic control moving to where both sides are opened up to traffic. And so that's coming here in a couple of weeks. And then they'll get traffic on it, and they still have some median work to do. They got a median cut to finish up and stuff like that. But we're not going to wait on all of that being complete, which will take about 60 days to be complete, to get traffic moving on both sides of it.
So that brings up a good point, and we'll be releasing more information about this as it gets closer. But with that traffic switch, one of the temporary hindrances is going to be if you're coming, let me think about what direction that is. If you're coming east on...
West to east?
If you're coming west to east on Bailey and you wanted to turn into the rec center, that left-hand turn is going to be blocked. Thus, the left-hand turn to get onto Bailey from the rec center will be blocked as well for a temporary period of time while they build that that median in there.
So you may need to use the entrance off of
Veterans,
and the light to make.
Or if you turn,
correct,
west onto Bailey from 35, you can turn right into the rec center. But just be aware, and we will send out a traffic alert if you're not signed up for those. PearlandTX.gov/alerts, and you can sign up for traffic alerts so you get all that information when that comes out. But that'll be a temporary switch while they finish up the rest of the work, and then they'll open that that turn lane back up there. So really exciting stuff. They're getting really close to that being done.
Right.
Okay. This one, it says, many of the local gas stations are selling counterfeit goods. Most recently, La Boo Boo Toys. I got to be honest, I had to ask one of the younger people on my team about this because I have no idea what this is. Sorry, I'm not done reading the question.
I know I had to ask.
Residents are being scammed out of their hard-earned money by these businesses. What steps does the city take to prevent these scammers from ripping people off? It's illegal and something should be done.
First, thank you for bringing it to our attention. This is something we can turn over to, I guess, our police department.
Yep.
I'm not sure what statutes. I mean, it all comes back to laws and statutes and counterfeit goods. Is it something that they have, or is this a customs? A lot of this stuff comes in from overseas.
Sure.
Is it a customs issue? I don't know. Not a subject matter expert when it comes to this type of stuff. So we'll take this and turn this over to PD to take a look at and find out how, what, and where to enforce it.
And that's one of the things that we do. I mean, we have detectives. This is if there are crimes being committed in the community, this is the thing that they're looking into.
Right.
more specifically, I mean, you know, they're keeping track of all sorts of things that are happening in the community. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already aware of situations like this, if they're you know, wherever they are out there. But yeah, we can send that along and see about getting more information on that. And I need to go find more about, how do you say it? Labubus. They're what are they? The figurines? They're what?
They're like plushy toys.
They're plushy.
Yeah, it's like a
toys.
little plush toy.
With the one with the keychain?
They can be a keychain.
Oh, okay.
And then they
they're
hook,
key- yeah.
kids hook
Okay.
them onto their.
I do know what these.
They
Yeah.
hook them onto their backpacks and stuff like that.
Got
so.
it. Learned something new today. Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Can y'all paint the street lines in reflective paint? It'll help to see in the rain and at night.
We've actually taken this question to our traffic department, you know, to make sure, and obviously we maintain most of the streets throughout town. We do have certain ones that are TxDOT related,
Yep.
like FM 518, Broadway 35, and the like. And so those are TxDOT roadways that we couldn't do it on. I also know that a lot of these things, when it's done with roadway, there is a standard and a standard type of paint and a standard type of things that are done on all roadways, engineering standards. And so I don't know if reflective
Oh, yeah.
is a part of the engineering standard or not. And so that's why we just need to take it to traffic to see what we can do. I like the idea and I like the concept, but we need to make sure that it's the right thing.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and those types of things. But great comment.
This one, it's written as a question. When I read it, it doesn't sound exactly like a question, but it says the property taxes are getting higher and higher every year, and it's due to the unneeded growth of the town. So I'm gonna read it like a question, but I don't think it was. I think it was, they're trying to attach correlation between growth of the town and higher taxes, maybe.
I guess maybe because, you know, as you grow, you got to add, you know, more police or more this, you know, and those kind of things, which it takes tax money to
Sure.
to do it. You know, this is a philosophical question when it comes to growth. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy question to ask and answer. In Texas, I won't talk about, you know, some Russian state somewhere where, you know, Russia, you know, owns your property and you
Sure,
can't
sure.
do anything. Let's talk about the United States and let's talk about the state of Texas. You know, pro-property rights. So, you know, if you live in an HOA, you give up some property rights
Sure.
because you sign and say,
Everybody's gonna-
I will live under the restrictions
Yep.
to do something. When
Hence
you-
a deed restricted
Yeah,
community.
when you move into or you want to do something in Pearland, we are a zoned city, kind of like restrictions,
Sure.
if you will. We have certain classifications and those types of things. And so people have a right, if they own a piece of property, they have a right to develop their property. We continually have people who call us, make these types of comments and say, stop it. Okay, well, I've done the math and I'm gonna hit some math here. Undeveloped or underdeveloped property in our community is about 15% left
Of the overall.
of the overall city.
67 acres or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
it is. Yeah, well, we've got 48-ish square miles,
I mean, yeah, miles.
and so
Right.
you know, 15% of that, you know, and then there's a number. 66 acres is in a square mile, so just take what we have left times 660 acres. That's how many acres you have left. You can multiply that by 43,560. That's how many square feet in an acre, and I'm going to give you a very low number,
Okay.
but probably on average $3.50 a foot. It's probably higher than that because we have a lot of frontage on Broadway and
Which is all commercial.
and everything
which
else
sells
is
for
commercial, which is going to be
10
double
to
digits.
15, Yeah. Yeah.
You know, to 15 to even higher. We have some properties in Shadow Creek that, you know, that are in the 25 and 30. But let's just use 350.
Conservative estimate. Yeah.
Very conservative estimate. You'd need $700 million to buy up all the land,
That's it. Just
which
I'm gonna get my checkbook.
which would require a bond election to do, which would
Yeah.
require tax money to do
Right,
it,
right.
raising people's taxes in order to do that.
and then would
and-
need to be maintained. I
And
guess.
then
I
you
mean,
got to maintain that property, which, you know, would be millions of dollars a year.
Sure.
And those
Well,
types
because you're
of things.
mowing 66 acres every week on top of the 300 that we're
or
already
more than
mowing.
66.
I mean, yeah. Oh, 66 per square mile, right? So 660.
is in a square mile.
Yeah, we wait 660 acres. Oh,
Is a square mile.
okay. So just for reference, we mow 300 acres a week now, and that costs over $1 million a year. So, I mean, with enough calculations, we could get to the. How many acres is it? I want to do the other math number.
7.2 square miles times 660, 4,752 acres.
Okay, 4,762
Times 43,560 is 206,997. Oh, 206,997,120 square feet times 3.5, $724 million.
Yeah,
And so it's a
just mowing.
it's a philosophical question about development and growth and those types of things, and people get into these questions all the time, and it's fine to have the conversation, but
Sure,
the reality is, if we then tell somebody we don't want to buy their land, but we tell them they can't develop,
right. How are we any different than?
well, we get sued
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, more simple than that.
for
Yeah.
regulatory takings, and we have to pay them money, and we still don't own their land. They still own it.
Yep.
And so that's a penalty. And so so when we get into planning and zoning and planning and comprehensive plans and what's going to go and what's the market and all those kind of things, we have these discussions. We've got some questions in here about, apartments and car washes and things of that nature. We at the city don't control a market.
Right.
We don't control it. The markets are the market, and the markets speak. And so, when we see stuff like this, unneeded growth, well, one can say that, and
Right.
that's a fair point to their opinion, but that's their opinion.
Right.
Go ask somebody who owns X number of acres of land if they have a right to develop their land. And I guarantee you, you're going to get an answer
Absolutely.
of absolutely they have
Yeah.
a right to it.
Well, and going back to the market piece, if you try to resist the trends of the market, you might work yourself out of being a valuable community because the markets won't want to go
Right.
there. I mean, it's a very delicate ecosystem, and one that has to be managed by a very responsible group of people who volunteer their time, which just that blows me away.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Thank you for that response. I think that was a good way to approach it. Okay, can we fix the timing of the lights on 35? Waiting for no one at red lights isn't efficient.
It's very frustrating too.
What's the point of the Knapp Street light? It's always red north-south, and the intersection of Orange and North 35 or 35 North Main near Ace Hardware and the Valero gas station. That's one. I don't have any information on that. We'll take that too.
Well, so I do need. 35 is a TxDOT roadway. They don't maintain the lights.
Right, we don't maintain the lights.
No, we do.
Oh,
We
I
do.
see.
They don't.
On 35.
So once you hit 50,000 in population, the city is blessed with the opportunity to now maintain street traffic signals, and with no money to go do it.
Of course.
And so it's an unfunded mandate that is just thrust upon, and you inherit what the state put in there, which was lowest bid.
Right.
And I'm going to say it, sorry if anybody says this, the crappiest piece of equipment they can find, because it's the cheapest, and that's what we get. And so you will notice a marked difference between traffic signals on our east-west thoroughfares, Magnolia, Bailey, McCard, versus Broadway, and versus 35.
Yeah.
We inherited all the stuff on the two major roadways from the state. We built the others and put in our equipment.
Gotcha.
So the timing is much better because we controlled it better. The infrastructure isn't in for the timing systems like we have on the other.
I see.
And it takes millions of dollars to build the infrastructure to get the timing
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
So it's a frustrating point because it takes millions of dollars to do it. And it's something that in our capital projects and others, we work on continually
Yep.
in bits and pieces to get it there. And so I'm very frustrated when we have timing signals that are out. It's frustrating. It's unfortunately it's a part of our life, but over time we do want to change these components to our stuff where we can do a better job of controlling the signals.
Yeah, for sure. But in those sessions, we still like to report them to
Absolutely.
our traffic
Right.
division so that they can take a look
Yeah,
at
so
it.
we'll take all this to our traffic and see what we can do.
Yeah.
We can control some of it, but we need to see what's going on.
Okay, so next one. Why isn't the city maintaining all the overgrowth of trees along the power lines, plus the mowing along roadways and ditches that is being belong to the city? It seems a lot of attention goes to certain areas while others get neglected. Oh, Fight Road, Hatfield, Veterans, just to name a few.
Okay, first and foremost, let's talk about who maintains what, and what our rules and regulations and our ordinances say. Power lines, obviously, that's a center point deal. We do not remotely get close to power lines,
Right.
because we're not equipped with it. So anything that is up and around the power lines, that needs to be, we can get specific areas, we can turn that over to CenterPoint and their right-of-way folks in order to maintain or have that looked at. So let's talk about, Fight, Veterans, any of these types of roadways. And in fact, in front of every roadway in town, every roadway in town, not talking about the esplanades and medians, but every roadway in town. Just like in your subdivision, who mows the grass between the sidewalk and the street?
Well, I mean, this is not answering your question. At my house, I am the corner house, so I do it. But usually, if you're in a planned subdivision, your HOA does it.
No,
Oh,
the homeowner does.
between the sidewalk and the street. Okay,
Between
I
the
see.
sidewalk and
Yeah,
the street,
yeah.
the property owner, the homeowner, mows that grass.
Right.
In front of every business in Pearland, it is by ordinance that the owner of that property
I see.
maintains that ditch.
And in neighborhoods like what's the one on Dixie Farm? Oak, not Oak. What's the Dixie Farm in Westfield? Oak Brook. Golly. The Oak Brook Estates on the Pearland Parkway side, right? There's
And so those
leaves
HOAs
in there.
own that property.
Right. They
and
mow all that,
And,
yeah.
and they mow and maintain that.
Yep.
If you go in front of Walmart, they may maintain that. If you go in front of HEB, that strip center owns, and all of that is maintained. Anything that's in the right of way is maintained by them.
so there may
And
be
so-
spots that look like city property.
But
It's actually-
it's right of way.
Right.
It's between the ditch and the road.
Right.
It is the property owner that is in front of that. It is their responsibility to maintain that. Now, a lot of people go, well, that's not fair. I don't own it. Why am I doing it? Well, same thing. You don't own it in subdivision either, but you do. If we did that and we maintained all that, we wouldn't be spending $1 million plus.
Right. It'd be
My guess is it would be closer to 10 million
yeah.
to do all of it in town. And so that decision was made, I don't know, almost 20 years ago
Oh wow.
to mandate that in sense.
Interesting.
So, there are some exceptions to that. There
Sure.
are a few areas that are very, very difficult for somebody to maintain, and we do maintain those. They're more of an exception basis than the rule of thumb.
Yep.
But the rule of thumb is the property owner maintains it. And some do better jobs than others. If it's too bad, that's where code enforcement comes in. And,
Right.
And now TxDOT on Broadway will come through 3 times a year and hit things and knock it down and make it a little bit better. Rest of the time, it's going to be the property owner that's there.
Sure. And we do have, certain areas, especially, our right-of-way areas, rough cut ditches, stuff like that. Of course, all of those things are subject to rainfall.
Well, I was going to say we're into those rainy months, and so sometimes our esplanades and the medians get a little taller than normal because we've had rain, and so they may be missed in a week, or delayed simply because, and we're in that fast growth season. So,
Yeah.
that kind of happens. So,
I'm going to go ahead and ask this next question. I think we kind of covered it already, but do you think we have enough car washes?
my truck is dirty right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm making
We
light
like
of
to
a
have fun here.
making light of a subject. No, so again,
I don't know if you can find a car wash.
again, it goes back to a marketplace.
Right.
And let's talk about that marketplace. We've talked about car washes. We've had several come in. We've approved some. We've actually denied some.
And that's the fascinating thing to me about car washes is every single one of them goes to council.
Yeah, and where if there's an area and there's just we think it's saturated, it's there. But at the end of the day, it's a market thing. They're willing to put millions of dollars at risk. They're coming in. Here's an example of marketplace speaking. Mm-hmm. Liquor stores. We haven't had a liquor store conditional use permit for a new one
Oh yeah.
in over 3 years, if not
Since-
4.
I think the one on maybe 35.
We
I don't remember.
haven't had one in front of council in 3, maybe 4 years
Because the market said
because the market says
that's enough.
we're done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Interesting.
and so people who study this and do this for a living know.
Right.
Okay, and quite honestly, most that I drive by are busy.
You bring up a good point, which makes me think about in my earlier career. I helped develop a model for a collision repair company, specifically for that reason, right? So traffic counts, number of competitors, makes and models of vehicles, things like that in the area, to look for viability. So they can look at the market and say, "No, we don't want to buy a location here."
So, out off of Broadway, and I think it's Sunrise Lakes Boulevard right there, catty corner from Grazia, that where
Yeah,
Hash
yeah.
Kitchen is,
Yeah.
and that corner. So
Right.
on that corner, when they came in and got their original zoning, they had a CUP for a car wash. They had a car wash ready to go, and something happened with the car wash, and they came back. So CUPs, conditional use permits, are good for a year.
Yep. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And staff, I think, can give them a renewal initially, but if it's, I can't remember exactly how those rules are, but sometimes they have to come back to council to get an approval to renew it.
Mm-hmm.
They actually came back in, they had all their pictures, and we said, well, wait a minute. Do you actually have a car wash ready to go? And they said, no. Their car wash people backed away and backed out. And it's one that's building now in town
Yeah.
in a different area. So the president of that
Oh,
company
interesting.
said, we're gonna cut that one. So that was the market saying, we're gonna cut this, this, and this.
Sure.
So we denied the renewal. And we said, until you have one in tow, we're not gonna continue to do this.
Yeah.
So again, the market has to speak, and I'm a big believer in market-based approach to zoning, market-based approach to how we do business.
Sure.
Free markets to a point, and there are certain things, and it's like I said, we haven't had a liquor store permit in 3, if not 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
And the market has I don't know if it's saturated, but it's said.
It's at least full right now.
We're good,
Yeah.
right? So it's important that we do that. And
Well, sort of piggybacking on that, this next one, when will there be enough apartments?
that's a great question. The answer is enough. I don't know. The true answer, I don't know. But again, it goes back to we don't have any multifamily zone property. So in order to have a multifamily project, you have to come in front of council with your case. My philosophy is if you make it difficult to get that in town,
Yeah.
then you can demand or command a better product. Let me say this about apartments. There is a misconception about apartments. There are people in town who automatically think if that's an apartment thing,
Crime and
it's
traffic.
no, it's subsidized.
Oh, I see.
It's subsidized housing. It's Section 8. It's HUD. It's those types of things. It's automatically there. The answer to that is false. In order to have Section 8 or HUD or subsidized housing, it takes a vote of council in order to do that. And so On a new build, brand new construction, we would never allow that. That is our policy. We don't allow it. On an existing one, let's talk about existing. There is a tax credit program. It is not subsidized housing. It is not Section 8 housing. If you're Exxon and you want to get a break on your income taxes, you can put money into this tax credit program with the state. Those dollars get invested into these types of projects, and you get a write-off on your taxes.
Right.
Okay, so it's a tax credit program. We will allow those usually for an existing structure.
Yep.
Usually they're being sold, so somebody's buying it, and they're going to come in and put, $10 million into rehabbing it,
Wow.
keeping it up.
Yep.
So it is in our best interest and the property's best interest to be well maintained.
Sure.
Right? And so if they're getting those kind of dollars to go and do that, then typically if it's a existing structure, we'll okay the tax credit, but it is not subsidized. It is not Section 8. It's not somebody writing a check for their rent.
Right.
It's a tax credit deal through the state and how they do their income taxes. So, but when it comes back to apartments, we don't want your quote garden apartments.
Right.
So a lot of things have been made about, for example, the apartments at Magnolia and 1128. They are now leasing up. They are leasing faster than anyone ever thought. They're leasing at a rate higher than any rate we've seen
Wow.
up here.
Yep. So the demand is there.
The Ivy Lofts, the one with
Yeah, yeah.
structured parking out off of 288, same thing. Their lease up is going very well, and their per square foot is very high. And in fact, in both of these, some of their apartments leasing are more than people who live around it in their housing than their house note.
Golly.
So there's a misconception on what apartments
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
And now it's incumbent upon us not to overbuild.
Right.
It's incumbent upon us to have a proper mix of housing. There are people, in fact, the one on Magnolia, most of the renters there, highly professional, they're young, they don't want to live in and around the
Midtown.
Med Center
Yeah,
or at
yeah.
Midtown, because Midtown's now $3,000 and $4,000 for an apartment.
Golly.
Okay, so they'd
It's a
rather
used car.
be here, right? And so that it's a delicate balance. I'm not a believer in just saying no.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, I do believe that every tract of land has its day in court, if you will. I do believe there are some right spots
Yep.
that certain types of apartments, mid-rise, those types of things make sense for. And so, but it has to be vetted and it has to be shown to be, the highest and best use of a piece
Sure.
of property.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. This says, the self-proclaimed, my question is deep. Honestly, no fault of yours, but reads, how on earth are us old-timers supposed to stay in Pearland and pay these taxes, city and school? This is the old-timers' home. We grew up here. We are literally being pushed out. I've been here my whole life. If a lot of us stay, we lose everything.
Right. I guess it goes back to, again, it's a philosophical, type of question. I can assure you nobody is trying to push out. I do want to talk about appraisals. Okay? City has nothing to say about appraisals. And so you see that, and people say, well, yeah, but you attach the rate to the appraisals. It's true. Let's talk about some pressures that we have. Cities are subject to inflation, just like I am at home, just
Sure.
like you are,
Yep.
just like everybody listening in. You're subject to inflation. We buy supplies, we buy materials. Right now, in the greater Houston area, there is a, not a war, but there is a jockeying for position on police officers. And police pay.
Yeah, we're seeing it all over the region and,
Okay.
and the state.
And we're seeing it throughout the region. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we're doing is we're staying competitive,
Yep.
so we don't just see a max exodus of our police department.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine the devastation that could be? And so there is a thin line and a balance. It goes back to balancing all this in making sure that we have the right police officers, the best police officers, the best pay we can afford. And so we compare it's in answering this question. And I'm sorry, I don't want Barney Fife, and I mean that seriously, as our police department.
Yeah.
We are a front line to what happens in Houston. One of the reasons why we're one of the best places to live in the country, U.S. News and World Report gave us that designation, is because of our safety and security,
Yep.
because we put money into those types of things. 62 or 63% of our general fund budget goes to public safety.
Yeah.
And so so there is these types of questions and these types of comments are very hard because they're real.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
very real.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for some people because of the different things that water's another issue.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, you don't live. If it's not clean, you don't live.
It's very
And
expensive
and it's very
clean and
expensive
provide.
to create it, and it's
Yep.
very expensive, to provide it. And so it's very hard on people to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I would love to have a focus group. This is scary. I'm thinking about this on the fly.
No, this is great.
And I know we do this here, but I would love to have a focus group, since we're going into budget, about what we can cut.
Yeah.
Because when we get these questions, we then ask, what would you cut?
Right.
Invariably, crickets.
Yep. Yep.
Crickets.
Yep.
Okay? Because our budget is made up of police is number 1, fire and EMS is number 2, public works is number 3, then we have parks, and then we have general services, which is
Support
all of the
services.
departments that
together.
support those 4.
Yep.
From legal to HR to finance, communications, IT, so
Yep.
forth and so on, that are there to support. We don't, you don't have finance inside police. You don't have finance inside, because you would be duplicating all those services. So instead, we do it this way. So it's real important that we do that. Another thing that I think is important to this question is making sure people at a certain age, like when you hit 65, and I think it's 65, that you are in fact making sure that you're taking advantage of all of the homestead exemptions. It's surprising how many people that are not 65 that don't even claim a homestead exemption at all. It's surprising how many don't.
Yeah.
And so it is important that people, take those types of things as well. So these are hard. It's like I said, you've got to have an effective, efficient, and well-run government. You also have a city. So here's the thing. It's like property values. So let's talk about appraisals. I mean, how much time do we have? Because I think our appraisal system is broken. It's absolutely broken. And I don't see our legislature fixing it. Instead, they take surplus. Let's buy down an exemption on your school taxes. Well, that doesn't help the school district.
Right. Because they're still having to create funding.
Because they still have increases in their bills and expenses.
Right. Yep.
And so it's a vicious cycle that, being here in a city, and I watch what our legislature does, it's frustrating because I think we have some things to offer that they can fix, but they won't.
Yeah.
And one of our state reps right here, Jeff Berry, wants to fix a broken appraisal system. But you get up there, well, that's not the mantra. We need to eliminate property taxes. It'd be great. Let's eliminate them.
Mm-hmm.
How do we pay for police, fire? How do we
Right.
pay for that?
Yeah. What's the solution?
This is a philosophical question, and it'd be interesting to have a focus group saying, okay, what would you cut?
Yeah.
Realistically, what would you cut? And remember, there's a cause and effect.
Right. You take police off the street, right? Or you transfer money from police to public works. You know, you can fix the streets, but you can't protect them. Or if you go the other way, your cops can't drive the streets.
You
if
can
they're
eliminate parks and save $9 or $10 million a year.
Well, you wouldn't have any pickleball courts.
No.
No.
But I mean, so is that the right thing to do?
Right. Yeah.
And
At one point, is it not a community anymore?
right,
You know what I mean?
So all of those are there, and so it's not like anybody's trying to push anyone out.
yeah.
These are difficult questions to ask and answer.
100%.
You see this as we go through budget. You see it on
See
a
it on-
staff level
At every council
when we go
meeting.
through budget. And I'll tell you, just at a staff level, if somebody leaves employment, they retire or they move on to something else, internally, not driven from council, internally, all the way up to the city manager's office, the questions are always asked, all the way down to a single person.
930 employees.
930
every
employees.
single position.
Can we absorb it? Can we eliminate it? Can we absorb it? That's asked all the time. And we have been able to eliminate positions in a department. And because we could absorb it. Maybe we have technology today that we didn't before.
Sure.
Maybe we've got more efficient people, better people in those positions than we did before, and they can absorb it. And so all of those questions are asked and answered every single time. We have an internal audit group that is an outside company. We pay them roughly what a salary would be if we had somebody internal.
Sure.
The problem is when you have somebody internal, they grow friends within the group, and they have to make
Tough decisions.
tough
about-
decisions and tough recommendations.
Yeah.
It's easier if you have somebody outside the organization. So we've got an external audit group, internal audit group, from an external vendor. And I mean, they go through a department, they look at staffing, they look at scheduling, they look at all those kind of manpowers, they look at efficiencies, they look at their policies and procedures, how can they improve, how can they get better, how can they get more efficient. It's truly Doge-like.
Yep.
How do we do this? And then they make recommendations. They have been through the fire department. So every department is subject.
Right.
Okay? They're in police right now. Our two biggest departments they hit first.
Yep. Makes sense. It's where all your investments go.
It's where the majority of your budget is going.
Yeah.
So let's go there first.
Yeah.
And so we look at those kind of things to hone in and be as efficient as possible. And even from that perspective, with 135,000 people living in town, 930 employees, it's 6.8 employees per 1,000 people. Okay?
So 7 people.
So per capita,
Managing
so
1,000
per
people,
capita, yeah, it's 6 to 7 people per 1,000 employees. And
That doesn't
remember,
feel like enough.
that's like, so police is in that, fire's
fires
in that,
in it,
and
public works, all
and
that.
everything else. And so, I hear all the time, we have way too many employees.
Yeah.
Yet, when you look at us on a scale with cities around us,
Yeah.
we're kind of in the middle to the lower end.
Yeah, we run lean,
And when you compare us to other cities, you have to look at, we have a full-time fire department,
which a lot of people don't have.
which a lot of cities don't have.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have full-time fire, you could save probably 25 cents on your tax rate. It's a real number. But at what cost?
Right. Right. Yeah. The response time, if you went full volunteer, there's so many variables to it.
It was
And
the
it's a clear decision.
It was the volunteers that came forward many years ago and said, we can't cover it anymore.
Yeah. It's too much.
We're too much. We can't do it.
Yeah.
So, people say, well, how does a city like Pasadena, they're bigger than us, how do they do it? Well, truth be known, all of the plants over there have paid fire departments inside the gates.
So they outsource it to.
No, they then require, as a condition of employment, that their paid firefighters volunteer for the city.
Huh.
That's how they do it.
Interesting.
That's how they do it.
Yeah.
It works for them.
Right. Right.
It
right.
works for them.
Yeah.
But imagine what that's saving on the city side.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
a tremendous asset.
Yeah.
We just don't have that.
Yeah.
And so, but if you look at their tax rate versus ours, and I mean, our tax rate would go from 63 to probably
40 or
below.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, if we eliminated, now you'd still have to have EMS, but if you eliminated the fire aspect of it, okay, call it 15 or 20 cents, lower 20 cents. There you go. And so that's a number.
Right.
Um,
But it's a choice too. I
it's
mean,
a choice.
You're not getting anything here. Residents aren't getting anything here that's, you know.
Yeah. We have a working structure fire every 3 days
Yep.
on average
Yep.
in town. We had one today. We had a house today,
Mm-hmm.
a few hours ago today.
How much is that fire department worth to that resident? Right.
Right. So these are philosophical and they're hard.
Yeah.
They're hard questions.
Sure.
And as an elected official, you're responsible for it, but you also, as somebody who grew up here and a part of here, it's personal that you don't want somebody to feel pushed out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't want somebody to have that. And so I hear that, but it's also important that we have safe community, that we have proper infrastructure.
Yep.
I mean, all the stuff about doing a sidewalk, well, that costs money.
Mm-hmm.
And so we prioritize all of this. And so it's so going through that process is not easy.
Right.
You see going through our strategic planning retreat
Sure.
and what we talk
Yep.
about, you see the care and concern about residents and
Yep.
and tax bills and those types of things that we talk about. And then we look at, well, if we don't do this, then what does that
What
cause
is
and
the
effect?
impact? Yep.
What's the impact?
Yep.
So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Sorry, we rambled on that.
No. That was good. I appreciate all of that input, and especially for those that you know are either newer here or don't get to spend a lot of time with the mayor. Come to a council meeting and sit through a couple of the budget hearings, and you'll see. I mean, there's a lot of focus put on it to be the best stewards we can with the resources we have. All right, moving on. Can we raise the speed limit to 40 on Magnolia Parkway from 288 to Harkey Road, except within the school zone?
So there's sections of Magnolia that are already 40. So
Right.
I'm a little perplexed on this. So from 288 moving east, 288 to about Morgan
Yep.
is in the county. We don't control that. The county commissioner and the HOA for a long time has wanted to keep that at 30 miles an hour. And the county commissioner and the county have said, we're good with that. We don't control it. Okay. When
Yep.
you come out of there, all the way, I thought, to Harkey, it's currently 40. Okay. So, I mean, the question says to 40.
Yep.
It's 40. When you go from there, you're passing the plants and then the school, and it drops to 35.
Yep.
It drops to 35 because the curve that's in Magnolia
Jostle.
there,
Yeah.
the
Called a
radius.
chicane in racing.
Yeah, well, that radius is severe enough that at 40 it's not safe.
Ah, okay.
So
yeah.
the 35 was mandated because of the safety of that curve, and then you're going by the school.
Yeah.
And so when you go by the school, you can only have a delta of so much from your top rate to the
So your
school rate.
zone rate. Yep.
Yeah, and so the 35 allowed it to be what it needed to be in front of the school. And I believe once you come out of McLean, it goes back to 40.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right about that. So good explanation.
But I've never driven it.
It's a great, yeah.
But I've never driven it. So.
But we will also still just send that back to traffic, just so they're in the loop on it. And if we get more information or if there's anything else, we'll follow up with on that. All right, next one. Why are there no streetlights along Fight, especially from Dad's Club to Rogers Middle School, FM 1128? It's very dark along that stretch.
So I think there are some in that area. Let us survey and respond back to this. This is actually a question I've got with CenterPoint because we quote bank, if you will, additional lights each year. And so I need to verify that program is still active and alive with CenterPoint, and then we can figure out where to deploy those. We get this question in this particular area of town often, whether it's Fight or whether it's, Harkey or, one of the north-south thoroughfares. So, but I'm pretty sure there are some street lights between the Dad's Club and 1128 specifically. Now, we need to make sure that they're actively functioning and working.
Yep.
And that would be a function of CenterPoint as well. But they may have a a broken line or something.
And if you call our service number 281-652-1900, they will report it for you as well. We recommend you call CenterPoint because they're the direct line there. But we can also help you with that.
We've kind of answered the pickleball question already.
Yeah. There's another one about pickleball.
And we're running kind of late, so let's move through.
All right, let's keep going here. What flood mitigation projects have been completed, currently in progress, specifically off of Old Alvin Road? We did that. We did that big regional drainage from Old Town site. Right before they did Sullivan Brothers.
Let's get back on this because I don't want to speak off the top of my head when it says what flooding mitigation projects have been completed or in progress. I don't want to shoot from the hip on this.
Yeah.
I do know, for example, in what time frame.
Oh, that's a good point.
Because like the town ditch, which runs from Old Town all the way to Clear Creek, was widened and deepened, many years back to get water out of the Old Town site and back and out, which is just off of this area. There was when Old Alvin itself went curb and gutter. There was some drainage work along with that roadway.
Yep.
And so let's get.
We'll make a note to get contact information
and then back to them. I don't want to shoot from the hip on that.
Yeah.
And so make sure that we answer this appropriately.
Okay, next one.
and then we talk about Old Alvin. There's Old Alvin north of 518, North Alvin.
Oh yeah.
Old Alvin south.
518.
And so we need to catalog all that. Like we have a small detention pond on Old Alvin, right next to the nursing home south.
Yeah, right.
Right there.
That was a regional detention.
Yeah, that was kind of a regional detention for the Old Town site. And that was done probably a good 6-7 years ago.
Something
now.
Like that.
So we need to let's answer that and get back with that person.
Yeah. When is the section of Hughes Road between Pearland Parkway and the City of Houston line expansion supposed to start?
It's a great question on the timing. I know we're in design right now with the consultant design team. Harris County is participating with that as well. So I don't have a date. We can get back with them with it should be on the website, and we can even point them to the right spot on the website because we're creating a project site where that can be monitored. But my best guess is we'll go under construction sometime in 26. Okay. On that, we have to coordinate with Harris County Flood Control on the bridge. We have to coordinate if there's any wetland issue right there with the banks with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Those always slow down the construction. So let's get a timeline for them so we can answer that specifically.
But to your point, we do have a project site that shows full timeline, expected start dates, when it's in design, construction, what phase it's in, all sorts of different things that is through our main website. It's a great resource for a lot of that stuff. Next one, when will you bring back red light cameras? Pearland needs them.
Well, since the state of Texas banned them by law 6-7 years ago, we're not.
Right.
So,
fair enough.
And very fair. And I'm going to say this. I agree with you. Way too many people are running lights. Way too many people are putting people in danger when they do. It's very, very dangerous. But I also say this, red light cameras were not the solution. I'm also believe in a free society, and I believe in proper due process. So the owner of the car got the ticket.
I see.
It might not have been the owner of the car
Yep.
driving.
Driving the vehicle. Right. Yeah.
That's not fair, and you're guilty with no trial.
Yep.
And so that wasn't right. So when I was on council many years ago, we said, we're not going to do this anymore.
Yep.
It's a due process issue. We are not going to do this. It's due process.
Right.
And so I stand by that.
Sure.
Because there's a right and a wrong way to do things. And ultimately, that's what the Texas legislature overturned that law with,
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the due process really wasn't there. Having said that, we have set up special areas in town where we've run more enforcement, kind of zero tolerance, writing tickets
Sure.
to just send the message to stop.
Yep.
And it's not stopping people.
Well, we'll tell you here, stop running red lights. It's not nice.
And get off this while you're driving.
Yeah.
It's the reason why they're doing it.
Hang up and hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, drive. All right. Would it be possible to put a three-way stop sign at Orange and Hatfield? View is obstructed. You have to pull out quite a bit to make sure the road is clear before you make a turn.
So two things. Yes, let's turn this over to traffic to take a look at it. Anytime, just again, education here for a second. Anytime you put in a traffic control device, a red light, or a stop sign where you're controlling traffic, you have to have a proper traffic study. It has to be warranted, so there's an actual engineering standard that it has to go to, or any ticket and everything else can actually be thrown out. So there is an actual bylaw process that you have to go through. So we need to go through that, number one. Number two, we have a traffic committee that these types of things go through. But the last thing, we need to find out what's obstructing view.
Right.
So the obstructing view could be something that we could take care of much quicker. So this is something we'll turn over to right
It's
away.
actually already been submitted to
Okay.
To the traffic calming as
Okay.
well. So they have a meeting coming up in July, and they'll be
Okay.
covering it there.
Okay.
But good information too.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's about LEAP. It's a leadership program that we have in Pearland. It says exactly how much did the city spend on the LEAP workshop? Do you feel that teaching employees how to communicate is a priority for our community when there are so many other safety and infrastructure issues? Please provide the dollar amount.
Okay, so off the top of my head, I don't know the dollar amount. Just right off the top of my head, I do know in our budget we have dollars for continuing education, for licensing, as well as staff, not staff enrichment, where we promote our staff and
Yeah,
staff
certifications,
development, staff
yeah.
development. And so the program LEAP, this person's put in here, how do you feel? Do you feel that teaching employees how to communicate is, the LEAP program is way, way, way more than teaching people how to communicate. And so it's truly a staff development. It's not meant for our upper management. It's really meant for our mid-level employees to have an opportunity to grow in who they are in their department, who they are in their job. And so it empowers them to actually want to take on leadership positions and roles. The great thing about the program for me is watching team members who work together day in and day out within a department coalesce and work and actually work on how to make their department more efficient, more proactive, problems in the department, how can they be better? And then to watch the excitement that they had in being able to do that is incredible. And even more than that is the excitement that they have in helping our community and being there for our community and the energy in watching these folks go through is incredible when you see that. So any business, I don't care if it's mega business or small business, you want to promote and bring your employees to a different level. And we're a business. We are a business. 900 plus employees, you're a business. And so we want to develop our employees as well. We want to develop and make them better in their job so we don't have to hire more people.
Right.
Make them better in their job so they can be more efficient, become, very highly trained people to be able to do this. So the program is way, way more than just how to communicate.
Right.
And so we'll have to get the dollar amount and put it out there.
We can do that.
I don't have it off the top of my head and don't want to speculate.
Yeah.
But we do spend some monies on staff development. We want to develop our people from within so they can promote and do things. I mean, it's important that we are able to do that.
Well, and I mean, we talk about this a lot, but we are a people-based organization. Our 75% of our operations and maintenance budget goes to individuals because this organization is based on people. People are what make the city of Pearland work, from the infrastructure through public safety and everything else in between. And so thinking about it like a business, the investment in our people and the perpetual improvement of our people is an important part of being successful. And so that investment comes in the shape of things like LEAP and other education type opportunities, things that help us take a step and look at the work that we do, how it's done, who we do it with, and really challenge each other to be more effective and more efficient in everything we do.
Okay.
So we'll get back on finances as well. Okay, next one is...
Don't necessarily have to read this whole question.
Yeah.
Just real quick, it's a
question about occupancy.
It's a very specific question. It's a very technical question, and so I see the question there.
Yep.
And so, John, I'm going to have our fire marshal's office and Chief McCune just address this question directly because I'm not a subject matter expert in those codes, so it would be unfair for me to, number one, take this question, and number two, tell you how that works.
Right.
This is not what I do for a day to day and everything else. So I'll have Chief McCune respond to this, for you. I mean, he is our fire marshal. He's the one that dictates and directs that code and everything else, and he's our subject matter experts, and that's who we're going to rely on.
Sounds good. All right, very last question. It says, is there a way for citizens to put in a request for the city to add streetlights across Broadway because there are numerous accidents that happen?
I'm not sure exactly. I'm assuming, I'm going to make an assumption. It'd be nice to get a little added on here. I'm assuming they're talking sections of Broadway from Old Town back to 288.
Yep.
In that particular area, because our street lighting moving the other direction where it's curb and gutter is much
bright.
better.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's my assumption. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. And we could work with TxDOT to go ahead and put more street lights in, but that section of Broadway is going to be widened and go under construction here in
concrete curb and gutter
in the next 18 months to 2 years. And so it would behoove us to get through that, and then as a result of that project, you'll have standardized street lights just like you see on the rest of Broadway as you move east go into play there, and that'll happen as a part of it. So you will see an improved lighting situation on Broadway as we move that project forward.
Sounds good.
What else came in while we were
Let's
talking?
see. It seems like a lot of the traffic lights throughout the city are not in sync. They're asking if we've done a traffic study to optimize the lights.
Yes.
We've done, I mean, and we have a couple of different technologies in a couple different areas, but I don't know.
And some of this is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
Because again, and not to take away from the poster, I'm saying sometimes, there are engineering standards on certain things, and so while in a given part of day a light might be fine, in another part of the day it might not be, and so making sure that our timing on those things is a delicate balance.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Okay, there was another one. We need tennis courts in Shadow Creek Sports Complex. Sorry, every time we talk about tennis courts now and pickleball.
And I think there's some conversation about putting pickleball courts in the Shadow Creek Sports Complex.
Well, they said tennis courts too.
Yeah, and we'll have to.
Yep. But we'll pass that along to Parks. I've utilized the CenterPoint app to report street light outage. It doesn't work. You can leave your email and you will get. It does work. I'm sorry. You can leave your email and get progress updates. Thank you for that. That's very helpful. Loving the truth on property tax development, Pearland growth. Thank you. Great explanation. Okay. Ditches are usually drainage district. That is true in some cases. It depends on the area.
Right.
We do have on our. I keep talking about our GIS, but we do on our interactive map. You can see who owns what property, and it's a very, very helpful tool. Just scrolling through on some of these. Any of these questions? Are we good?
I think most of it's just chatting back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah.
People are
I just
chatting
wanna
back
make
and forth.
sure that we covered everything.
Okay.
This last comment here is pretty easy.
Department. Which one is that?
About the fire department.
Okay. Okay. Let's see.
And everything else, I think, is just
Okay.
chatting back and forth. Yeah. just
I think
to
we
make sure
covered-
our tracks, yeah.
Very good. It's great to see that.
No,
the interaction
I
and
appreciate
engagement,
the interaction, yeah.
not just with us, but also
With each other.
with each other on here. So
This is
so I
what
love that.
This is what we wanted from. I mean, we call it Talk of the Town because that's what we want. We want to sit down and talk. We want to talk to you all, and we enjoy having these interactions and welcome people to come and visit with us. You know,
Yeah,
whenever.
and it's a privilege to do it each month, and
Yeah.
and we come in, we do it, and I know we've kind of gone a little long today, but it's
Hey,
content's been good.
I've enjoyed
and
it.
Content's
Yeah.
been good. The questions are great. They're kind of all over the board. You can see it's kind of a smorgasbord of
It's a little bit of everything.
of questions and
And
comments.
now you
each
know the
month.
mayor doesn't play pickleball, so I mean, you know.
And that's not why we don't have pickleball courts. I promise you.
Ooh, I'm going to start that rumor.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Just because I said that, we did it. I didn't have a dog either, and we put in a dog park at Independence Park. So
There you go. Okay.
So we want to make sure that we get some of these things done. But it's a
Yeah.
privilege and a pleasure. Come out to concerts in the park on Friday.
What time do they start, Joe? They start at 6, 7.
7.
Start at 7 on Friday.
And then set your date, July 4th, Independence Park. Best
gonna be a
fireworks,
rip
best
roaring
fireworks
good time.
display around, and come on out. It's not just that, but it's just fun with the whole family and
Heck yeah.
and the community and all of that. And let's celebrate our country.
Sounds great. All right. Well, we'll see you next month, end of July, last Wednesday in July. It'll
Last
probably be a morning
Be a
show,
morning,
I think, this
mhm.
time. So we'll start off at 9 o'clock.
There you
Sit
go.
down, get your cup of coffee, and hang out with us and ask some questions.
That's it.
All right. We'll see y'all next time. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.